I think it's just chronic courage.
No, the title. I have to title the stream.
Hey, come on. We're getting there. There we go. And we are live. Awesome, awesome. Welcome everybody. Come on in the room. Come on in the room.
Hello.
Chronic Courage is here on this first Monday, which has been pretty rough Monday.
Monday.
It's been a definite Monday. So I want to make sure that we're on live. We are live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And I am just about live on my end. I want to make sure
thank you all for coming in. Yeah, we are. We are definitely on Instagram, so that's a good thing. So let's start with some. Let me turn this down real quick. If you all see me turning to the side, that's because I'm looking at Instagram. Everyone says hello on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let's start with some house rules and just do the disclaimer real quick so then we can start our actual podcast. The information presented in this Chronic Courage podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with your qualified healthcare professional before making any decisions about your health or treatment plan. Okay, that was it. That's nice and short, sweet, to the point. Today, Amber and I are talking with author Amanda Che. If you don't know Amanda, you better get to know her because she is just amazing, amazing. Amanda Che wears many hats. She's an author, entrepreneur, and lifelong health nut. Her journey with lupus, which sometimes drives her bonkers like us all, right, has ignited her passion for supporting women with similar health challenges, leading her to write the book, The Girlfriend's Guide to Lupus. Oh, I love the book, by the way. Right, Amber? With a master's degree in counseling and running her own stress reduction training program, Amanda comes well equipped with a wealth of experience to her ventures. When she's not plotting her next family adventure, you can find her sipping jasmine tea and eagerly sharing book recommendations with anyone who will listen. I'm so excited to bring Amanda up to the stage so that we can start talking to her. Let me bring her on up. Hi, Amanda.
Hi. Hi. What a lovely introduction. I'm so happy to be here today.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. We're so happy to have you. It's been a long time coming, this book, Amanda.
Oh, I know.
I remember when you started it, so I'm so excited to share with everyone else what you're doing.
You remember, I don't know, like for me, when I was pregnant with my daughter, there was like this one book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. And so when I had lupus, I was like, where's the book that could tell me the real stuff? Not like the medical stuff. I wanted the real stuff.
Absolutely.
And so that's what you had to create.
I love it. I love that whole concept because the whole book of, what to expect in your first year or what to expect when you're pregnant was amazing. So that was good. I want to read a little piece though, if you don't mind.
Okay. I love it. Let's hear it.
So, and this is page 1. So I love when you can catch someone's eye and someone's attention in that first page. Receiving a lupus diagnosis was both a relief and a punch in the gut. Deep down, I had known for almost a decade that something was seriously wrong with me. Ever since I received my first autoimmune diagnosis, this confirmation was both validating and crushing as I mentally screamed, oh shit, I actually have lupus. We've all been there. We have all been there. I stumbled out of the medical office in a daze. What the hell? I thought, seriously, is this all I get? A diagnosis of chronic autoimmune disease and took ages to figure out. And all the doctor gave me was a prescription, not even a crappy yippee. I have lupus, a bumper sticker or a boring brochure to help me navigate this freaking nightmare. I was confused, afraid, and alone.
Okay.
That one little paragraphs.
Yeah, I know I'm not alone in feeling like this. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And let's just start by tell us a little bit about your story, about
Sure.
what you've been through and what made you come to the point of writing this book.
My story is probably a unique one just because it's different than most people follow. We know that lupus takes between 6 to 8 years for a diagnosis, or 5 to 7. Mine's probably more like a 20-year diagnosis. When I was pregnant with that first daughter of mine, her name is Anna. She's the one who also has lupus, which is extra sucky. But I was really, really sick with her, like 7 hospitalizations and multiple feeding tubes and all these drug allergies. But never once was a doctor like, what the hell's happening to you? It was literally like, let's keep you alive and let's try to keep your baby alive. So I give birth, and no other question comes up about it. I have another daughter. I don't have as many problems. And then like little things start to come up that alone doctors aren't worried about, right? Oh, your vitamin D's low. That's, to me, I'm like, that's weird. I live in Florida. Why would my vitamin D be low? Or, your white blood cells are really low. Or, like all of these things start happening to me, and in alone in themselves, they're unremarkable, like a little thing here and there. But to me, I'm like, what's going on? So I start getting really curious. Eventually, I get a lot of joint pain, and I get a diagnosis of Sjogren's, which usually attacks the cells in the eyes and the mouth, drying them out. You can also have joint pain with that. But I had a weird diagnosis at the same time of neonatal lupus. And the doctor's like, well, you're not a baby. And it was never discussed again. I'm like, okay, I'm not a baby. Like, it was so weird. They never talked about it. And you fast forward to another like 8 years till my doctor, this is how I knew I had lupus. She kept saying to me, Amanda, have you lost a lot of hair? And I would be like, what? I get like self-conscious. No, I don't think. Oh, yeah. Have you had a lot of chest infections or lung infections? And I'm like, so I would Google what she was asking, and I figured out that she thought I had lupus, but she was simply waiting for my ANA to be positive. Of all things, I had so many symptoms.
ANA.
Mouth sore. Yeah, I know, right? We know the ANA is not the one that just says, kapow, you have lupus. But that's kind of how my journey went. It was kind of long and drawn out. And if I was not tenacious and being like, what the hell is wrong with me, I'm not certain I would have a lupus diagnosis right now.
And that's important. That's an important point, because I think a lot of us, if we're not advocating for ourselves, we're going to get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And, I don't blame my physicians that I've had across the way. For most of them, they have been good, and they're just doing what they can based on their time. And, it really relies on me to be like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when you said that you had the neonatal lupus, is that the daughter that has current lupus now?
Well, from what I understand about neonatal, you get it, the baby will get it, and it'll be short term and it'll go away. Most babies end up perfectly healthy. So I don't really know why in the world that showed up on a blood screening, because you don't even have a blood screening that would say you had lupus anyway. So I don't even know what blood test I had in order for that to show up. So it's just such an oddball, just an outlier. But yeah,
but
5 months after I was diagnosed, my daughter was diagnosed. She was in college. She had mono. And she was just like her mother, unfortunately. And so, thankfully she got a diagnosis young, and we don't want it. And she had it quickly, but at least now she can be on medicine and she can manage it. And she didn't have to struggle till her mid-40s like her mother.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
it confuses me how many of us had mono, Epstein-Barr.
Yeah. And don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we're at some point had it before we finally got our diagnosis, because I had it for what they said 6 months in high school. It doesn't last 6 months. And finally, now we're able to look at it and say that it was probably not, it was mono, but it was also my first flare. 10 years, 12 years later, we finally get the actual lupus diagnosis.
Jeez.
Now that's interesting. That's interesting because you're not the first person, Amber, that I heard say that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Well,
sneeze.
we know that we have these genes that lay dormant in us and they need that environmental trigger. And for a lot of people, mono is that trigger. Mine just happened to be getting pregnant and having a really tough pregnancy. But you just, that little bit of trigger is enough to fling lupus out and you become the unlucky recipient of a lifelong with lupus.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now tell us, what was I heard you say earlier that you saw something with the baby book, what to expect, and you ordered that for lupus. I love that idea. What else
Yeah.
did you really write this book?
First of all, you can see there's books behind me. I am an avid reader. I love to read. I have always loved to read. So when I got the diagnosis, I, of course, turned to a book. And I have it. I have that, that medical lupus encyclopedia. And I read it all and I highlighted it. And it's really, he's a wonderful physician. He's a lovely man, but it is some deep medical, clinical based information. And I wanted the real thing. I wanted like the secrets. And I remember I was walking down the road right there because I always was going to write a book, always. I just didn't know what it was. And it was like a light bulb thing. Like, you will write this book. And that was the title, The Girlfriend's Guide to Lupus. I never changed it. And I'm like, okay. And so often I like to ponder and think and research and, do all these things. But surprisingly, I just sat on down and started to write.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that it's so well thought out. It's so well thought out, and it's so much great information, especially if you are newly diagnosed. Because I'm still in your introduction right now, and I'm getting ready to read.
Get in there.
The more you understand yourself and how lupus shows up for you, the better you'll be able to manage it and elevate parts of your health. And that is what your book is about.
Yes. Yeah. I'm doing a training on the business end in a few days to a bunch of accountants, and we're talking about the idea of stress. So stress results from your expectations of life and the reality of what life gives you. Yes. So if I think lupus is going to be hunky-dory and I'm going to take this medicine and I'm going to feel better, well, shit, I'm going to be very upset when life kicks my ass with lupus. And so I think that's kind of the idea behind it. Like, let's be honest. Let's lay out the ups and the downs of the challenges you're going to have on all different levels so that you feel better prepared. Like, I don't want my doctor just to show up and give me an injection and it feels terrible. I want my doctor to be like, okay, it's going to hurt. Right. It's going to be a 5 out of a 10 and you're going to have these side effects and then you're going to go on. And so that's really the hope of the book. Like, let's clear up some expectations, and also, what I think is really important is to let people know that they still have power in their hands. I mean, lupus sucks. It's still part of your health, but you have power. And don't ever forget that you have power. What you do every single day, how you move, what you think, what you eat. These are all extremely powerful in shaping the health that you will continue to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you said that. Because those coping skills are important, and I found that when I read the book, it was giving coping skills, feelings, and vibes, and things that can help you live day to day and thrive. Is that what you wanted the book?
Oh, yeah. I definitely wanted to take what I have learned. And I wanted people to know that I've learned some things, but I really screw things up. Like all of my stories, you can see I screwed things up over and over and over. But then I wanted us to give ourselves the grace to be like, all right, let's move on. Let's learn some things and pull from it. Yeah. And I didn't want something like you have to buy this shirt and you have to buy this program and you have to buy the book, because most of those things you don't need. You really have a lot of power within you to do things like move your body and prioritize sleep and work on your mental health. These all are here within our power. Absolutely. That doesn't mean we don't need outside help, but I think we underestimate some of the help we need and underestimate what we can do and overestimate what the help may bring us. Like, for example, medication. mental health. It's great. It's necessary, but it's not 99% effective. There are things that you take your medicine, and then you also need to continue working on the mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Amber, you were going to say something?
It's nice to see that. I apologize. My words today are not coming easily.
We understand.
Foggy days. So many books are written with the you need to take these meds and you need to follow this program and you need to buy this whatever fish oil and
Not the fish oil.
you know what I'm talking about though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was just so refreshing to just see you being honest.
Well, I appreciate that, Amber.
You're gonna
Amber,
need your meds. You're gonna need the therapy, but you're gonna need things. But
yeah,
it's life.
Amber, when I wrote the book, I thought I was going to uncover all those and share them with you. I'm going to find the one food you need to eat, Brussels sprouts or whatever, and I was going to lay it out for here, everyone. Here is everything you need. So I was quite shocked in a good way to learn that, oh, you didn't really need all those. You don't need all of these supplements. In fact, we should be very cautious about supplements. So that's both empowering and enlightening. And I don't think I'll ever look at a study or a clinical trial in a different way now than to be skeptical on what the results may show.
Absolutely, because everybody is so different. We all have the same lupus, but it manifests in so many different ways. And if we're not dealing with it on a personal level, it can get kind of sketchy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we need to be choosy chicks.
I love it. Choosy chicks.
This body is very selective now, as we all should be, and we shouldn't just easily eat something or consume something if we don't know if it is or is not good for us.
Right. And we shouldn't automatically assume that something's good for us because it was good for someone else.
True. That's a very good point.
That even goes medication, though. Just because your doctor says, here, take this, you still need to do your research and really, truly look at side effects and studies and things like that, because it may be an option for some, but as you get into the weeds of it, you may find something that is definitely puts it into a category that it's no longer for you, whatever that may be. So
I think
everything.
Yeah, because a good physician, I have found, will be like, here is X, Y, and Z. Here's why I'm suggesting these for you. I would like you to go home and do your own research and come back to me and tell me what you want. I've had some terrible rheumatologists and I've had some great rheumatologists, and that's what I take from the great ones, is that they empower you to make the best decision for you without forcing it upon you.
Right.
Absolutely. And that comes to my next little readout.
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm a little anal with certain things. So
I love it.
And that's that self-care. So you have a portion in chapter 6 where you said real self-care cannot be bought. Real self-care cannot be bought. It's really not about a spa day with a sparkly unicorn bath bomb. It involves making tough decisions about what's best for you. It's choosing to be more disciplined, living in alignment with your values, prioritizing mental health, and putting your happiness front and center. And that goes back to what you were just discussing.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel like self-care is so important as you deal with lupus?
I think that it's been very nice of a sharpening, almost like I'm a horse with blinders now, that I can see the path of me and what I need and how I'm easily affected by the movies I watch or the people that I surround myself with. So I'm grateful that lupus has brought me to that. And I wish that all the other women of the world could have something like this, if no other reason, to sharpen their focus. And so that's really come to the idea of self-care. And we all think self-care and take care of you, like we say that so casually, but the idea of taking care of you isn't to go to Jamaica for a week. Perhaps it is to find a new job that allows for a better work balance. And we like to pick things. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. That might be Jamaica does feel a lot better, a lot easier than finding a new job, but it is making those hard decisions about you. And sometimes it involves taking people out of your life. It involves making a move to a different place or a new career. There's lots of really tough choices that I know we don't want to deal with. Certainly, we have limited energy, but I really feel they all come back to us. So we have to be careful how we think and what we choose.
Absolutely. Even when we say no to other people, when we say no to ourselves, all of that is part of self-care. That is such a great point.
Yes. Yeah. I talked a lot about in that chapter about boundaries, which I think are tough for everyone, no matter what you have, but are particularly important. One of the words that comes up, I remember, is like boundaries are the protective cloak that protect us against the choppy waters of life, which I think is quite fascinating. And when you state your boundaries, it's not about me trying to control you. It's really about me trying to protect my own health. And someone doesn't have to agree with you or understand it in order for you to state your boundary and move on. Now, it's never that simple, but that's kind of the idea that I find that certainly we women can be guilty of too many yeses when we really mean no. And, with this sharpening comes the ability to be firm in what you need. And I think having a chronic illness, people are less likely to be like, oh, you don't need that. You're fine. Instead, they're like, oh, they still don't know what lupus is. No one seems to, but us.
Yeah, but they know what product is going to take care of it, though.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Or the chiropractor. I mean, I know it's ironic because on top I'm wearing this, but on the bottom I have my yoga pants on because I was just teaching yoga. But yoga is not the answer for all. It's not the answer for lupus for some. It's just something that works for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it may have been in that same chapter where you brought up not cutting bangs in a flare or something.
Yeah, about making good decisions.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to me, I think it's a control thing. My hair has sometimes been one of the few things that I feel like I can truly control. And so when my health is like, I don't know if you guys feel like that, but like when my health is totally out of control and it doesn't feel like there's anything I can do to fix it, getting my hair done is one of the few things that makes me feel like I actually have a choice in life and like something I actually have control over. And that's what I know you were kind of making a joke of it, but that's kind of what it made me think of, was the fact that sadly, sometimes getting my hair done is a feeling of control.
Shoot, it's one of those things that you can control, and that's within your control. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I think that we do get caught up, Amber, like you were saying, in the things we can't really control, like a cure. And that chapter 6 really taught you really how to just set those boundaries. Set those boundaries so that you can have those things that you want to control yourself. You know what I mean? Like I'm like Amber, I will go and I will be sick as a dog with a lupus flare, but I will go and get my nails and my feet done because it's something that makes me feel good. On the other hand, on the whole other spectrum, I will say no to a person in a minute. I do not have a problem saying no. No, it's a complete sentence. And I will set that boundary for myself. Like I want to go out, but my health is not great. So I have to set those boundaries with myself as well. I love that you have the opportunity though, Amber, to really make the decision that this is what makes me feel good. And that's what I'm going to do. That's important.
But sometimes it's 2 years in between.
Details. Your hair grows long.
Yeah,
there's something in the book.
Absolutely.
It is. So I thought there's something in the book. I don't remember exactly what I said, but about a self-care formula that one, You can do it as long as it's legal in your state.
Mhm.
2, it brings you joy. And I think there was something 3, but I can't remember my own self. But that was some of the ideas. Like, yeah, as long as it brings you joy and it's legal, you go at it.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
And
Go
it
get
comes
your nails, get your hair done.
exactly. But then it comes back to the 7 chapters. Look how we wrapping this around.
Oh, perfect.
To that, it's
7th
all
chapter.
about the small stuff.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
I like that. I'm glad you're bringing that one up.
Did you enjoy writing that particular chapter? Because you know
Yeah,
the way it was written, it made me so excited.
Yeah, the funny thing is I have always been, like you gave in the intro, a health nut. I've always been like this, like really curious about little things and what hacking whatever I can do to me. So to be able to put this all back in, I mean, if you only knew, I wrote 120,000 words to create this book, and this book is only 55,000 words. So I had a lot to say, and we're going to cut a lot out. But yes.
That's right. We're looking for part 2.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But the whole idea is like there's no quick fix. I mean, God, if I could have figured it out, I just would have told everyone. I'm not trying to gatekeep. There's just no quick fix.
Yeah.
We are made up of our daily habits. We are made up of things that we do over and over, and how we eat, and the people we surround ourselves with, and how we move our body, and what we think. All these things come together, and they come into play.
Yeah, I love that. I'm always talking about, making those, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and setting small goals, and, every step counts. And I love the way that you put that in the book, and how you were able to just explain simply, look, like you just stated, you are what your habits are.
Yes. And you do such a nice job, Raquel, always showing, like when I always think of you, thinking of seeing you when you do your videos and you're showing people simple ways to just be active.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be, balls to the wall. It can be something that works for you. And you have to be able to give yourself the grace to know, 1, what you need, because that's really important. Sometimes we don't know. And 2, be okay with whatever your body can do today. It's not the rest of your life. It's just right now.
That is so true. That is so
Yeah.
true. Right now, that's what you need to be thinking about. Your now.
Yeah.
Because you can't change yesterday.
No.
You surely
Yeah,
can't. What's going to happen in the future? You can only talk about today.
Yeah, and if we can't stay in the present moment, we can't find the joy in it. And so maybe if we can just focus on being here and what our body can do right now. I'm not a Pollyanna. I think, being too positive can absolutely be harmful to you. So I'm not here to say that, but I do think that you can kind of turn it into a perspective of, like for me, I'm like, there are people way worse than lupus than I have. And there's people that are better. And so I kind of ride myself in the middle. And so I really need to do what I need to do for me and let the rest go.
Right. Colleen said, I decided part of my self-care is having a healthy hobby, such as gardening, fermenting my own food, canning, etc. It brings me peace as well as healthier food options. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I love it.
I love that. I love gardening. Because to make some good food, fermenting, we know is always good for the body.
Right. So I love that. Thank you, Colleen, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Go through a couple of questions real quick, or I guess statements. Ooh. Let me read that from where I'm at so I can see the whole thing. I had to change my life around a lot after being diagnosed with lupus. In January, I knew about the problem for 20 years on top of the kidneys and diabetes. So at least this was a smackdown. But I have changed the way I eat, my supplements that I take, and my self-care. I am not on any narcotics. I use walking and exercise to help get chemicals going to get my body get rid of the pain itself. Some days are better than others, but I had to get my family to understand I can only do, and I'm assuming that she's going to say what she, what her body allows her to do.
Right.
So that's a good.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so let's go on because I can, we can go on with all day. So, what are some common misconceptions about lupus that you hope the book dispels?
That we're doomed,
Mm.
that we're powerless.
Mm.
That's just some death sentence or a crappy life sentence, and you're just, your demise is there. I just feel like I would give up if I felt like that.
Right. Do you feel like you've talked to a lot of people who think that it's their death sentence?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, I can hear it in some of their voices. I think it's just the fear, the uncertainty of what they're going to face in the future. And sure, like if I think to the things I can't do anymore or the things I maybe wanted to do, it can be quite discouraging. But I just, so I choose to not let my mind go there.
Right.
To get stuck on it. I just find that, just reminding myself that I have power, that I can continue to change and I continue to grow helps me to know that it's okay. And it's okay to feel bad. There's days where you feel bad, where I'm angry, where, I often when I feel really, really bad, I don't want to talk to my husband. I would rather turn to, I have 2 daughters, but certainly my oldest daughter that has lupus, I will call her and just go on to her. It's so nice that I have someone that is so close, my blood, that goes through something like that. And I feel for a lot of women, this is maybe what I hear the most. I feel for the women that don't have just one person there in their lives that they can call up and be like, feel like shit. And the person's like, I got you. I understand. Right. You don't even have to say anything. You don't have to explain why you feel bad, or no, I've not tried ibuprofen. Thank you so much. Oh, ice. Okay, great. So helpful. You don't have to do that.
Right. Because they know, they understand, they feel you.
Yeah. There's something powerful to have a woman who's got your back like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something about just knowing that you are not alone in this fight. I think that was a lot of what was in the book as well. Like,
yeah,
I know what you're going through. I feel you. I understand. I get it.
Yes. And I think certainly for me, I can relate to the fact when I got a diagnosis, I was lupus. I'm Amanda and I have lupus. I think I made some jokes in there like, don't give me plastic bags at the grocery. I have lupus,
right.
Have this big sign. And then eventually I was like, I don't like being Amanda with lupus. I want to be just Amanda. And I, like at the same time, I don't want to be an author or a mom or a wife. I just want to be me. In my core, I am just me. And all these other lines of roles just getting back, like line up. But first, I just want to be me.
Yeah.
And that's why I say throughout the book, you are not your lupus. You are much, much more.
Absolutely. And you also put in there that, actually grieve your old self. Make sure that you give yourself the opportunity and the grace and compassion to do that.
It is a grieving process, losing what you thought your life would be or your health. That this is an absolute loss that can ebb and flow back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can allow yourself that sadness. It's understandable.
Absolutely. Someone said on Instagram, wondering why stress affects my symptoms so much.
Oh yeah, that you are not alone, friends. Stress is a very big flare indicator. Because this is top of my brain for my training on Thursday, stress is a lot of unique things to the body. Now, if we have short-term stress, it's great. It boosts you up. You get your stuff done. Remember in high school when you had a paper and you always got it done in time. But when we turn stress into more chronic stress, it wreaks havoc on the body. The cells in the body actually die at a quicker rate. Your inflammation increases. So let's just say I don't even go to all the other symptoms. If we keep those alone, your cells are dying and you're more chronically inflamed. We know why lupus is so greatly impacted by stress.
Right. And you know what? It's funny because people think that you should remove all that stress. You know what I mean? But we need some of that stress in order to live.
Oh, you are a wise woman. A lot of people don't understand that, Raquel, but yeah. Like think of times in your life that have been stressful, but impactful.
Right.
Going to college, Getting married, having a baby, having a puppy, changing jobs, moving to a new place. These are all very stressful, but we've had some profound accomplishment or realization outside of this. So we need to understand that stress is not always doom and gloom. In the wrong amounts, yes, it can be, but we also need to realize, like, if stress can be defined as, let me get the exact definition, something when something I care about's at stake. That's what stress is.
Mm,
Ooh, that I feel that's really deep. Like, ooh, are
yeah,
you stressing about things, people that you don't care about?
right,
Hmm.
right. And if
Can
you are,
you
why?
connect back? Yeah. Like then if you're really stressed about something, you can be like, okay, what do I care about here? Then you're like, that's right. It's my health and it's really important. And so that's why I'm going to get back in there and
Right,
continue to fight.
right.
I'm still here. My camera has just
Yeah,
decided.
I got you.
The camera has just decided. I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi or what, but
I saw you come back on like with the sound, so I said, let me put you back up there.
yep, I'm still here. But I think what I will say is stress can be defining in a positive way too.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Absolutely.
only is it negative, but it can be because, like, when I had to leave my nursing career 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I, for a long time, I viewed that as a negative, a negative thing. But in the long run, it was a positive thing because I was able to focus on my advocacy and really focus on my health and focus on, doing all sorts of other kind of things besides just doing my, 3 12-hour shifts, making myself
Mm-hmm.
miserable, and then trying to heal somewhere in the midst.
In the middle, right?
Yeah,
That,
good. That's wise, Amber. You have gained some wisdom from that stress.
Lots of therapy.
Yeah, good.
I'll take it. I'll talk
That's
to
right.
anybody. It doesn't matter to me. It if it relieves that stress, I'll talk to a dog. It doesn't matter. That's why I have animals.
That's right. They
Right?
always love you. Those family members, not but the dogs and the cats. Yep.
If my dog could talk, oh jeez,
I'd
Oh,
be in
your
so much
dog's gonna write a
trouble.
book.
it'd be the biggest book ever.
You won't believe what she said tonight.
But and as we're talking about that, you did hit that in the book. You said in some situations, distress can turn into eustress. This is a
Mm,
nice perk. An
yep.
example of when a job layoff is initially upsetting, over time turns into an opportunity to find a new career path, and vice versa. Positive stress can become negative stress if it becomes too intense or lasts for too long. Just think about building a house or growing a baby if you want examples of this at play. And then you said emotions and thus stress are contagious. And I wanted to get to that.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love that. I think the study was out of Farmington, Massachusetts. I can find the study, but basically, they had found in a small little town of a thousand or two people there that when one person in the community was upset, that the emotions would rip through the community, that they would
Mhm.
be spreading. So the idea here that they've uncovered is that emotions are contagious. Now,
Mhm.
I don't know if you've heard of the term highly sensitive person. That is definitely me. So I'm constantly on alert for emotions and changes in environment. So I'm very sensitive. Hence why I've learned this is one thing I do. Is like I will not watch animal videos. It'll make me cry. I
Yeah.
don't watch, certainly at nighttime, like violent movies because I
Mhm.
understand that people's emotions, they just don't rub off so easy on me.
Yeah. And you start to internalize what other people are going through, even if it's just fantasy, things. You
Yeah.
can internalize all of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why I try to read my news versus watching my news because then I can control, the images aren't there and I can read it. And if I want to search it out, I can. So, why these things aren't necessarily specific to lupus, they directly impact my lupus. And so that's how, another example of how I'm really choosy.
Yeah. And it's good that you said that because stress will kill you and you're healthy.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine if you're not. Good grief.
Yeah, I have
Grief.
a little story here. I have two people in my life. My father is, a white man who grew up in Ohio, uh,
Mhm.
eats whatever he wants to eat. There's box food out there, doesn't work out, has a nice beer belly, but he's always happy.
Right.
My father-in-law is an immigrant from Laos, has not worked for, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years because his family supported him. He loves to fish and he goes walking. So if we see those people a few years ago, and we see them now at the current moment, my father-in-law is in a wheelchair. He can't speak. He can't
Mhm.
eat. Can't walk. He's had major strokes and heart attacks. And my father is still exactly the same. Now, if we see what the difference is between these two people, one who had a seemingly, my father life that you would think he would have a heart attack or something, it would be vice versa. And my father-in-law's had an easier life now that he's lived how he is. But the difference between these two has to do with their mindset, where my father-in-law was always worried about things. He would tell me, like, don't go to the mall. He constantly worried and he had anxiety, and this greatly impacted his mindset and led to,
Mm.
things that I think that have impacted his health overall in the negative manner. While my dad's always kept it light and just kind of moved on through his life.
And it goes back to, like, you can do everything right and still
Sure.
end up very ill, and that's so evident of it. But you went right to mindset because you are in my head. I just turned to adopting this new mindset and how
Mm.
important that is, and you said you can face stress, setbacks, and difficult emotions just like anyone else. But here's the thing: you have the power to tap into your strengths and seek support when needed. It's through resilience that you can navigate challenges, accept the situation, and adapt accordingly. By embracing it, you empower yourself to move forward, make progress, and continue on your journey towards personal growth. How do you teach people how to change their mindset, how to change reacting to lupus, and to learn how to respond in a more effective way? I won't even say positive, I'll say a
Yeah,
more effective way.
yeah. If it's so simple, we would all be there, right? We would all think, I'm
Exactly.
just fine, and we would go on our way. I think it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of deliberate actions. It takes the intention and the desire. The desire has to be there
Mhm.
first, right? We have to want better for ourselves. We have to want to not constantly complain. I'm just thinking of myself and not anyone else. But I also think throughout the entire book, I have really harped on the idea of self awareness. And I think all of this starts with self awareness. We think, right? Most of us think we are so self aware, but the facts are like roughly 80% of us are lacking that awareness.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't try to change anything in my mind set until I did a better job of understanding how I respond to things. And hence why I'm in counseling, and I read books all the time, and why I journal, and why I challenge myself, like, ooh, I guess that's a sensitive subject for me. Let me try to understand why I typically behave like that.
Right.
Because if we try to instantly change, right? If I'm going to run 10 miles every week, that's a hard challenge out there. But instead, if I'm like, can I just walk? The same idea, meaning, can I just draw some deeper self awareness on how I live and behave and react in life, and that'll
Mhm.
allow me to begin to deepen that knowledge and begin to want more for myself. Like, one thing I do, I put in the book, is about finding ways to be grateful. I've done it I have all these journals, so I don't journal anymore. But when I go and lay
Beautiful.
down in bed, yep, I just think like yesterday we were traveling for Easter. I'm like, I'm grateful we got there safely, and I'm grateful I got home safely. Like,
Right.
finding ways to just tap into joy, really, and that gratefulness really, really can make a shift in the brain, because your brain has that neuroplasticity and will continue to learn all the way until the end.
Right. And you have the power to tell your brain how to make your body react. And that's not to say that you can will away lupus, but
Yeah.
it's to say that there is so much to the mind body connection that people don't want to tap into and don't realize how much power they really have over themselves.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I'm not going to go become a gymnast, or I'm not going to go play basketball. I can't will myself to that, but I
Mhm.
can think when something happens to me, like, okay, well, this is temporary and tomorrow will be a new day.
Right.
Right? We think we need to start big and grandiose, but really we just need to be small. Like, I know you feel terrible, girl, but can you just think that it's just right now or it's just today? Maybe that's one little way to start. Don't try to get all big on it. It just makes it harder.
Yeah, that overthinking
Yeah.
and reacting is really something that can really hurt you in the long run. Kira says, and also healing our inner child is so important. Let your inner child
Oh,
heal and be safe, and then your adult person can mentally heal. I love that.
That's a
oh,
lot
that's
of
good.
work.
Good, Tara.
I'm working on that, and that's a lot of work, I will say.
That
It's a
is
lot
a lot of
harder-
work.
It's a lot harder than you think it will be.
My counselor likes to tell me that ain't no one doing that work because that's hard work. It's hard. It's painful.
It is.
But I think we're worth it.
Oh,
But we
for
have to
sure.
be willing to look in the mirror and we have to be willing to accept what we see.
Oh, for sure.
And we have to be willing to understand that healing is not a linear process. You know
No.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Healing is something that is done every single moment of the day that you walk in, you know?
Mhm.
And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about wanting to have something happen overnight. You know, we take this pill,
Mhm.
it should magically happen. Well, you didn't get lupus overnight. So
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
be open. You know, your mind has to be open, your heart has to be open to understanding that healing is not just a destination, it's something that happens
The
constantly.
trajectory. Yeah, I like to think about writing this book was like a year or 2 or 3 of intense therapy. I learned so much about myself and I was challenged in so many ways. You could find me often crying. First, I would usually be like, this lupus sucks. Like over and over, I would be yelling around my house, this is a terrible disease.
Right. I can't
And
believe
it
I have to
really,
deal with this.
well, I thought I knew. I thought I was educated, but when I read the research, oh, this is bad stuff, and I'm grateful that I did it. I don't know if I would have challenged myself that way. Like, it's just, some things are just really painful, but, I just want to say it as a reminder that once we make it through, we dip our head underwater and we find our way up on the other side, it does feel lighter.
It definitely does. It definitely does. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you were able to go through whatever you went through to write the book, because I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
You know, as
Oh,
you
man.
do research for anything, especially stuff that you're going through, it's so difficult to see that. It's like when you tell your story and you hear yourself say, oh, I've been through this, I've been through that. And it's like this light that goes off like, wow, I've really been through a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
number one, it shows of, hey, you've been through a lot of crap. And then number two, it shows I overcame that crap too.
That's right. Resilience. You got it.
So
Yeah.
it's y'all think it's easy to just write this book, but Amber, you're gonna start. I'm gonna be on you.
Right, Amber.
It's in my 10-year plan.
You got it.
You take all the time you need.
You got this. We talked about resilience. You said resilience makes you stronger. When you have more resilience, you get better at not feeling bad about your SLE. That stood out for me, because I think, like you said, we are often tapping into that focus of the negativity of the disease. And sometimes we have to just switch the focus just a little bit, not to get it. Don't get into that toxic positivity nonsense, but, just shift your focus. Oh, I saw a butterfly today.
That's right.
Sometimes you have to be like ADHD,
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to be woe is me.
Right.
It's understandable to be woe is me. And sometimes we need, a little bit of time to be woe is me. But then also, can we pick our head up and look outside? Like for me, I've learned on when I feel really bad that I need to get dressed and I go to the grocery or go out, go to the library, do something because it helps my mind get distracted from ruminating on my pain. I put that in there. I thought it was really impactful. And I've made myself notes all around the house. Like, you feel bad, get up, get dressed and get out.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. I'm a big proponent. I don't care what you do. You just get up, wash your booty, brush your
Mm-hmm.
feel
Yeah.
like you are a person, you know what I'm saying? Because you can just feel like you're dying laying in the bed. I
Yeah.
was
And you can do the same when it comes to dealing with, mental health as well.
absolutely. So I'm just going through like some of the questions or some of the
Yeah,
statements,
sure.
and it's just funny how things are coming up because as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the book, and someone said, "What's your diet like?" And I was just looking
Mm,
at your
the
chapter
diet.
19.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nutrition.
treasure
Yeah.
one bite at a time.
Yeah.
You know?
What I personally eat is the way that I know that my body needs to eat. And I did some research there. So I was really curious if it's going to be like gluten free or paleo or all of these other things.
Right.
Now, nutrition studies are very hard to do. In fact, I was just in a clinical trial for Mediterranean diet plan when it came to lupus because they thought that it shows some impact. So what we know across the board is that eating the food that you would eat if you had a heart disease or you had cancer is similar when it comes to lupus. We need lots of vegetables. We need lots of fruits. We need healthy oils. We need nuts. We need whole grains. We need to be conscious of limiting our sugar and our trans fat, um, drinking water, or, all of these things. None of them are sexy or impactful, and you can't just go buy it in a pill. It involves choosing that carrot over, the Cheetos. And making those choices that are good for you. And in the book, I give one like 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the time, try to eat how you know you need to eat. Eat well. And then when you have that other 20%, you eat what you want to eat. And I want you to not have any guilt about it. I want you to enjoy. If that food you can't enjoy, put it down and grab something else that tastes good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about balance. I mean, if you're having some kidney issues, you're not going to drink a whole bunch of water. You have to. I tell everybody to get a food journal. So you can tell what type of food affects your body, and don't just go with the whole, fad diet thing because
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
knows your body more than you. You know.
Yeah. No. And get help. If you're having a hard time figuring out what to eat, you feel overwhelmed, you don't think you're eating enough, call in a registered dietitian. I think did you have Tanya on there, the lupus
Yeah, she's
dietitian?
our registered dietitian. Yeah.
Yeah, like call her out or call another dietitian. Your insurance usually covers this, and tell them what's going on with you and get some advice.
Yeah, I think this was a good point too. And I'm not going to keep you much longer. You said alert your rheumatologist and PCP to any changes to your diet. That's a
Yeah.
simple thing. They don't necessarily have to approve of how you eat, but they do need to be aware of it. Ask if any problems are expected or if there is a clear reason why you should not eat a certain way for your health. And as always, talk to your rheumatologist about adding any new supplements.
Yes, yeah, we are
Supplements.
guilty of taking a lot of supplements, people, and supplements we should be very, very cautious on. That is a highly unregulated industry, and we need to know what being consumed. But I've had a rheumatologist. I think he wanted me to take, I don't know, one of the vitamin Bs, and he's like, just get them all. They're all the same, and I'm like, they are not all the same. We
You
have
tell
to educate
stories.
ourselves on that. I
Yeah,
had to give them a schooling.
absolutely. I'm going to tell you, you have some really great practical strategies in the book. I love the book. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the book, but I love the book. And I
Yes,
love,
yeah. Raquel was in the book because I loved seeing how you support other women. I loved how you advocate for other women. So it was a pleasure to have your insight there.
oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. You're an amazing person. So I want to be cognizant of your time and Amber's time and my time because the game is on and I'm a big freak for basketball. So
There you go. NC State is coming to the Final Four. That's where my daughter goes.
and look, that was a
Woo-hoo.
great game. That was a great
Yeah, that was a
game.
great game.
Ooh, Burns was on fire, but
Oh yeah, yeah, he was.
I want to end with, what do you, what do you want people to take away from the book? What do you want? What's the main thing that you want people to understand after they read this book and what they can do with it?
I want women to understand that their life may be different, but their life still can be beautiful and amazing with some deeper awareness and some conscious choices on how to move forward.
I love it.
Love it.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much for being so open and willing to chat with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to share a little bit of information.
I love
If
it.
you're interested in the book, you can grab it on Amazon. There's a e-version and a paperback.
Do you have a link that we can put in the that you can type up in the
If you just type in amandache.com, if you go on my website under book,
there
it'll
you go.
link back to Amazon.
Awesome.
Amber, that's something I learned, that you can do it a different way, and you can actually have your book in other areas besides Amazon. But, learning lessons.
Right.
Yeah. And learning lessons, and you know what? Hoopla and all of the free versions as well that will take your book and put it on there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. We so appreciate you coming
Thank
on
you.
with us, even though we're both hawking and coughing from allergies.
Oh, yeah. Pollen is thick. Well, thank you, Raquel. Thank you, Amber. It's been a pleasure to be on here, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anything last thing that you would like to say to our listeners on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube?
Well, I want listeners to know that you are not your lupus. You are so much more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we'll
you,
talk
guys.
later. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.
Great month, everybody. We'll see you
Thanks,
next
guys.
month.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And I'm going to put this girlfriend's guide. Someone asked on Instagram what was the name of the book. So I'm going to put that in there now.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you,
good.
everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you all.
See ya.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.